Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, we celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Also, the V-Team takes a look at the mechanics of grand jury testimony. Also, Barry Moore heads to trial, and Mike Hubbard, well, he's sleeping like a baby. Yeah, he wakes up every couple of hours kicking and screaming. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V.
The Voice of Alabama Politics, with your host, Bill Brett, and the V-Team with Claire Austin, Susan Britt, Jack Campbell, Baron Coleman, Charlana Spencer, and special reports with Jonathan Barbie. Now, the #1 political show in Alabama, The V.
Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. Today is our 1-year anniversary. Pretty good.
Hard to believe.
It's been fun.
It really doesn't feel like it's been a year.
The year has passed by so quickly, and our viewers have been so kind to us. And this has just been a fun thing to do, hasn't it?
It's been a whole lot of fun.
It's like a new extended family that I didn't know I had.
Yeah.
Lots of crazy cousins.
Lots of crazy cousins, absolutely. Well, I'm
Where's
your host.
Jackson this morning? Is
He's
he
all
coming
set.
on?
He's coming in.
Oh, okay. Can't make him Sunday morning without Jackson.
No. Well, I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Some serious things going on around the state. We have investigations, several investigations going on. What we wanted to do this morning was talk a little bit about the mechanics of grand juries and investigations. One case that we just was tried was an individual who was over the grants, federal grants for the school system in Alabama. She and her husband were found guilty of basically using her office for personal gain, whereby they put $49 million into various school systems that went back into businesses that he worked for.
And let's be careful, though. It wasn't all $49 million that went back into the businesses.
She had $49 million under her control.
That's right.
Well, the issue here, though, is how the mechanics of this went about. The grand jury, the investigation, and all that. Do you mind talking a little bit about how that works?
In that particular case, the Birmingham News had done some investigative reporting and had found some suspicious contracts. And so, as a result of them running a story, I understand the Attorney General's office and maybe some folks with the U.S. Department of Justice may have gotten involved and started taking a look at it. Normally what happens once there is either a complaint made to law enforcement or they start doing an internal investigation and find out these things, then they'll take that information before a grand jury and impanel a grand jury. And we all know this, the grand jury process is supposed to be secret. The grand jury members are not supposed to discuss anything that comes before them. And then the prosecutors can subpoena witnesses and subpoena documents that have to be turned over to the grand jury. And the folks under subpoena, it's not illegal for them to acknowledge that they are the recipient of a subpoena, but it is illegal for the recipient of a subpoena to disclose any questions or any information that is discussed during the grand jury hearings. And then once the grand jury hears all of the evidence, takes all of the testimony, and remember, it's one-sided.
Right.
The only person that gets to go in is the prosecutor. The defense attorneys do not get to be involved in that part of the process. And then the presentation is made to the grand jury, and the grand jury decides whether or not to issue a bill of indictment.
Baron, this is interesting. This case particular to me is interesting because this is the same white-collar crime division that is involved in the Lee County case as well. Is that correct?
It is, and their mission, I think, is public corruption.
Right.
Public officials, state employees, municipal employees, anybody that's employed by a governmental entity in the state of Alabama that's engaged in some sort of perceived corruption, this is the unit that can handle it. They have jurisdiction over this. They go in and subpoena the witnesses and try to get to the bottom of everything that's going on. One thing that's important to note is grand juries are notoriously slow on long, drawn-out public corruption cases because there are usually dozens, if not hundreds of witnesses. There are tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, or even millions of pages in documents to go through. It takes a long time. You want to get an indictment. When you indict somebody, you basically ruin their life, and you want to make sure it's accurate. And the prosecution wants to make sure it's accurate as much as the defense attorneys want to make sure it's accurate. And so they go through and they make sure they lay out a very meticulous, well thought out, patterned, organized case in front of the grand jury, and then the grand jury either returns a bill of indictment or a no bill.
Well, this is a special unit that Luther Strange, to his credit, did establish when he took over, right, Claire?
Well, he did, but they had had a white-collar crime unit that's been established literally since Sessions was the Attorney General and prior, and it went on when Troy King was there as well. But back to the particular case, you know, the one with the State Education Department and the federal dollars, that is also federal money, which is carries a much higher penalty when you're dealing with that. Plus, it was two individuals, a state employee and a spouse, so that the timing wouldn't take as long given what's going on in Lee County with all the numerous different players. You see, they're very different cases as far as multiple people being involved.
Well, I just think the process is generally the same, like you said, thousands of pages of documents,
Right.
Maybe hundreds of witnesses. But this was interesting also in the fact that 5 counts were charged, 5 counts were what do you call it?
They returned indictments on it, and they were found guilty of them.
And this was a 2-week trial. Is that long or short for this process?
No, I think it's about right.
I think it's about right on that case. What's going on in Lee County is not going to be a 2-week trial.
Right.
It depends on how many witnesses there are. I think there were somewhere in the neighborhood of around 50 witnesses on this trial. Some of them just had to come in and authenticate some documents. Here, you're down 5-10 minutes tops. Some of them, went half a day or more. But I think what's going on in Lee County will be much longer than a 2-week trial.
Well, exactly, because you're talking about 5 indictments on their case, and you're looking at, you could have anywhere from 10 to 25 indictments in some of these cases in Lee County.
We need to switch segments here. We only have about 2 minutes. This week, the former head of the AEA, the man who really built the Alabama Education Association, passed away at 78 years old. For a lot of people, this is a huge tragedy, isn't it?
It is. Paul Hubbert was considered one of the pillars of government in Alabama. The old joke, whenever I used to work at the State House, was that there were 5 branches: the executive, the judicial, the legislative, AEA, and another big industry in Alabama. And I think for all of his detractors, what we can say about Paul Hubbert, whichever side of the fence you're on, he did his job and he did it well. His job was to protect teachers and to try to maximize their benefits. And I think folks have to respect that he did that job and he did it well.
Claire, you were around a lot.
Yes,
knew
and I worked
Dr.
with him
Hubbard.
over the years, and that I will say that, a great leader passed in this state today. Whether you supported him, whether you were for or against him, you had to admire and respect Dr. Hubbard and the job that he did, and he ran and put himself up for governor and several times as well. And my prayers and thoughts go out to all his family and all the people's lives that he touched throughout his years of service in the state of Alabama.
There were sadly some very inappropriate comments made from some of our Republican brethren. Inappropriate when a hero to a lot of people and a villain to others pass.
When anybody dies, you respect the dead and let it move on. Any disagreements you had in this life cease at that point. You had a great outpouring of support from the governor, from the Speaker of the House, from the chairman of the Alabama Republican Party. People over the years who'd kind of fought against Paul Hubbard recognized him for what he was, which was a brilliant tactician, even if you disagreed with him.
Well, we salute the man. We send our love and condolences to the family. We're the V, the voice of Alabama politics, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Stop beating that fudge, 'cause here come the judge. Don't nobody budge, 'cause here come the judge.
The V is sponsored by Spot On Strategies Group.
Hello, trouble. Come on in. You talk about heartaches. Where in the world you been? I ain't had the miseries since you've been gone. Hello.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Jack, welcome to the set,
Thank you very much, Bill.
and happy anniversary.
Same to you.
It
We've
doesn't
been
seem like
glad.
it's
We
been a-
have had so much
It's
fun
been
sharing
it's
this
been
year
a
with
great,
you.
great time.
Yeah, it has been great.
We've shared a lot of laughs.
We've more than our share of laughs. I tell you somebody who's not laughing these days, and that's Barry Moore. He is set to go to trial the 27th of this month. They are going to do jury selection starting the 20th. Tomorrow, yeah. Take us through this process.
Well, it's a little unusual, I'll admit. I mean, the earliest I've ever picked a jury for a trial is the Wednesday before a Monday trial. I don't know maybe that's the way they do it in Lee County normally, is to do it the entire week before. But, you know, it makes me a little leery picking a jury a week out.
You think that somebody might try to tamper with
Well,
the jury? Is that what you're implying?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not suggesting that anyone involved in this would ever do that. It opens up the discussion.
You know, Moore is charged with 2 felony counts of giving false statements and 2 felony counts of perjury. This past week, we discovered that he was given $16,000 in donations that went to his campaign account. He has no opponent.
No opponent.
And then he had $35,000 in there, and he spent $30,000 of it on attorneys. What do you think about that, Jack?
I've said it before. We've talked about it on this show several times. I don't think it's fair to donors to solicit money to be used in a campaign that ends up being used for legal defense. I think you're robbing the people that should support you. I think it's a bad idea.
We've seen so much of that. Literally in the last year we've had this show on, it's been one legislator or somebody, elected official after another, using nothing but campaign donations out of PACs and campaign accounts to pay for their legal fees. And I just would think that the citizens and the corporate PACs and companies they would kind of have to begin to turn their nose up at this.
What do you make of the fact that BCA, Business Council of Alabama, was the biggest donor to Barry, and Lord knows, Billy Canary knows what's going on?
Yeah.
He was also the biggest donor. They were also the biggest donor to Mike Hubbard last month, who did not use the money yet for legal fees, but that has been the pattern. He's been taking money in and using it for legal fees. But I don't know what the BCA thinks is going on up there. But to me, if you know they're using this money for legal fees and you're still their biggest donor month in and month out, are you scared of something?
Well, I tell you this is just an intuition, but I think Billy Canary's up to his ears in some of this stuff. And that's a problem, isn't it, Claire?
Well,
we got some of our biggest and best businesses in Alabama. They support the BCA, and if they got a crook at the helm, this is going to look bad for everybody. Isn't
It could, but I think there's also been some rumbling over the last year since this investigation's been going on. A lot of the board members of BCA have been drugged before the grand jury over in Lee County because, number one, their corporations give a lot of money, or they're in leadership roles, or they were involved in the 2010 election cycle, and they were part of this whole shenanigan and giving money and what was going on. So they've been intimately involved in this, I believe.
Well, you know, there's no doubt that they have said they were pro-business, but a lot of this has been pro-business for them, right, Jack?
This whole last 4 years has been about business for the very people who ran to clean it up.
But it has been the Hubbards, the Rileys, these types of folks. And I don't know that, I wouldn't certainly say that any of these businesses have any knowledge of this, but
Right.
they have been contributors. And
But I think you're hoodwinking your members when you solicit money for your PAC and then turn around and give it to somebody for legal defense, not for
Right.
campaign
Right.
use.
Well, just like, for instance, these two people that they're giving all this money to in the end, it's not like they have a tight race, like a race where some money,
Barry
$15,000
Moore
or
doesn't have
$20,000, can make a huge difference in getting someone elected for the business community. You're not looking at a situation like that.
what did
That's what they ought
Hubbard
to be
raise
concerned
last
about.
week? I forgot.
I think he raised about $95,000 last week.
$96,000 in 1 week.
Right.
All from PACs, not from individuals. Right?
No, and you know, this has been a complaint of a lot of the peanut gallery that's watching the grand jury proceedings go on. When it's taking so long, we talked about in the last segment how it does take a long time. It's a meticulous process. There are a lot of witnesses and documents. But I mean, this has gone on over a year that we're all aware of. There are rumors that this has been going on more than 2 years.
Well, we reported over a year and a half ago that there was one in Montgomery County.
Well, and if that's the case, what this is doing is, as this is dragging on, it's allowing these guys to continue to extort these businesses
Right.
and basically put a gun in their face and stick them up and say, give me some campaign money. They're going back to the same people over and over and over again, which raises the suspicion among many of us that they're in on it.
We're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. Stay put. When we come back, we're going to have our special 1-year anniversary celebration. For the V.
The V is sponsored by MediaWorks Communications, quality video production and marketing services. The Locker Room, fine men's clothing.
Your love give me happy anniversary, baby. Got you on my mind. Happy got you on my mind.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. As you know, this is our first anniversary, and we are all in a very good mood, aren't we?
We are.
You know, I think we all are thankful that we've been given this opportunity to do this show. The people of Alabama have welcomed us, and we've met a lot of great guests on here and had a lot of great people. But what really makes this show work is everybody here. It's the crew that makes it work, the people behind the scenes, and all of you guys. You know, when I was talking to Susan about how we would do this show, each one of you individually came to mind at a certain time. And y'all were all so gracious that when we talked to you, that you said yes. I particularly remember having lunch with Charlana, and she goes, "I can disagree with you, right?" And I went, "Well, everyone else does." and you know, I think about Claire. Claire has always been one of the people that I've relied on in the State House to give me good advice and tell me what's going on.
And the truth.
And the truth.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Barron has been so kind to me and Susan. He came over to our house the first time we met him and shared with us all the work that he's done, and we really admired the research abilities and those types of things that he could do. Jack, I can't say enough about you, so I won't.
It's a lot about me to say.
But Jack Campbell was sort of like meeting my brother that I never had, and has been such a dear friend and supported this show when a lot of folks wouldn't. You know, sometimes I think about how smart Charlana is, how funny Jack is, and how much he cares and is knowledgeable. Claire's tenacity and faithfulness, and Barron just knowing the right piece of information. And also Jonathan Barbie, who puts a lot of heart and soul into this with the production work. You know, Jonathan, I came to Jonathan asking him if he could do this, and he brought me back 50,000 ideas that I could never pay for. But I told him what I could pay for, and he said, "I will make it work, and I'll make it look like $1 million for the $250 that you give me."
And he's done that very well.
And he's done that very well.
And he puts up with all of us.
Thank you.
Yes, I do. I sure do.
None of this would be possible without my wife, Susan, who is the true backbone of our organization. She not only keeps me straight, but encourages us all and helps us through these crazy times. But is just a smart woman who, you know, a lot of times in Montgomery, you're always talking about the smartest man in the room. Most of the time in Montgomery, the smartest man in the room is a woman. And I'd say my wife is one of those. And these two ladies here. I would agree. But enough from me. I'd really like to sort of just go through and everybody talk a little bit about what the show's meant to them. And Jack, is it all right if we start off with you?
Sure. I've known Claire for many, many years, and met Barron back in probably October of last year, and met y'all probably around Christmas, and you as well, and Jonathan. And I just think what makes it special is the chemistry. Yeah. You know, we try not to talk over each other. Now, Claire will get a little carried away every now and then with her egregious stuff. No. But I think the chemistry is here, and I think we understand each other and kind of feed off each other and try to keep it lively. And it's very serious discussions, but with a little levity thrown in, I think is what makes it work.
Well, we're glad to have you as part of the team, our newest member, of course. Charlana, you've been here since day one, and you contribute an awful lot to it.
Well, thank you. I enjoy it. I think one of the greatest experiences I've had with the show is meeting all of you. Before I knew Claire just in passing at the State House when she was a lobbyist, and I worked up there. I knew Barron because I would see him at the Green Papaya in Montgomery on occasion.
Busted.
But I didn't know any of the rest of you before you called me and said, "Hey, would you consider doing this?" And I think one of the greatest things that I enjoy about this is that we all come from sort of different sides of the of the box, and we take a look at things a little bit differently. And you have given me the ability. I told you my condition was to be able to disagree.
Yeah.
And we disagree a great deal on the show, but when we stop rolling, we're all good friends. We hang out with each other, and it's just been a pleasure making a whole bunch of new friends.
Thank you. Jonathan? You were there for the conception. Jonathan came up with the name The V, and then we had to figure out what it meant.
Originally meant we were going to put the desks in a V, but it's changed into a lot of other things. I just want to not going there. I just wanted to say that it's been special working with all of you, getting to know each of you personally. I love politics, and I got to mix production and politics together, and it's been wonderful. And I've gotten to know each of you, and each of you are just salt of the earth people. And Bill and Susan are such good people, and they speak the truth, and they report the truth. And just getting to know them has been special. And my favorite moments on the show is when I popped the question on the TV show. That was my favorite moment. And then we've had some antics, like when y'all dressed up in the hazard suits. We've had a lot of fun with this show, and I'm just so excited to be a part of it and can't wait for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, couldn't do it without you, even though sometimes you almost have to.
Yeah, I try to be on time.
Hey, he's the one that controls the bloopers.
That's
so
true.
let's
Yeah.
go.
That is true.
He has the buzzer.
Claire, I think you were the first person I talked to about this project after Jonathan, and you've been great on the
Yes,
show.
this has just been a wonderful last year, and like I said earlier, as we were behind the scenes, it feels like a whole new family. As Jack says, we've known one another for a long, long time. Charlene and I have known each other from the State House. Jonathan through Republican politics. Susan and Bill, probably the first week they set foot in town, because I said, "Who are y'all and what are you doing?"
I was in the elevator and got right in our face and said, "Who are y'all? What are you doing here?"
Doesn't surprise anybody. And Barron over the last 2 years, and it's just been a wonderful experience. And I think that we were not really sure how this was all going to pan out, but I guess I would say for the team, we have been, I think, a wonderful addition to the state of Alabama's news source. I can't tell you places I go, emails I get, LinkedIn's, Texas, when y'all are in court, people that watch us that we have no idea. And I think the biggest thing is that we're on YouTube and people get to see us all over the state and the United States. And we're on the right side of history, team. I just feel that's the case.
Well, Barron, you've been in the trenches with us on a number of stories over the years and on the show, and you bring a unique perspective to it. What's been your experience?
Well, when we first talked about it, one of the things that you sort of pitched that was exciting to me was being able to take what we talk about behind closed doors, over the lunch counter, at dinner, or out in the evenings, and put that in a format that can be consumed by the rest of the population, so that everybody can sort of have a conversational grip on what's really going on in Montgomery. And as I look back and watch it, and I've watched several of the episodes multiple times, I look at it and say, I think we've succeeded. I think we've taken what we talk about on a daily basis, sort of behind the scenes, packaged it in a format, and have delivered it to the folks. And now they can be conversational on what it is we talk about in our private conversations.
That's excellent. I think that is exactly what I think we're doing here. Well, Susan, you've had to put up with me the longest.
I have.
And, you helped brainstorm this with me, what it would be. And actually, you were the one who said it ought to be about what we talk about at lunch. What has it been like for you being behind the scenes and in front of the camera?
Well, I get a lot of laughs. With this crew. It's been wonderful. I kind of wanted this format because when you're in Montgomery and you have all these conversations, you know so much more. And I think it's important for the rest of the state to know what we know. And it's not being delivered to the newspapers or any other vehicle, so this was the perfect outlet. Out of that, I got a great family, a wonderful family. And we both, we have this chemistry on camera and off camera. We spend a lot of time together, even when we're not sitting here on this set.
Even with those that have crazy children, right?
This
Yes,
is true.
yes.
Yes, we have lots of nieces and nephews now.
There are a bunch of children, and they're all wonderful.
We love them all, but it has been a great honor to work with all of you and to powder your noses and to run the lint roller over you and to work in production and learn that side of the business.
Drink whiskey with us.
Yeah. We're supposed to bring that up. And then break bread.
And break bread, lots of bread.
Lots of bread, right?
Well, it has been a fun year. We want to thank you, our audience, for viewing in. Without you, none of this would be possible. From all of us here at the Voice of Alabama Politics, Thank you for sharing this with us. As we leave today, we're going to share some of the highlights of the show and some of our
Lowlights?
lighter moments.
This is why we have to be
The
nice
ones
to
that we can
Jonathan.
print, Yeah.
You can catch us every day at alreporter.com and every Sunday on your ABC affiliate throughout the state. Thanks for watching, and God bless.
That was pretty cool.
If you were married.
Coming up next on The V, our guest is Senator Sam. Sam?
Coming up next on the
Coming up next on The V.
Commission.
Do it live.
Jacob is jacket.
Is that what you want me to do? Okay. 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 All right.
Who are we missing? There's somebody not here.
You mean besides Claire?
Oh, Claire.
Claire's
got it.
always-
Don't start.
You're a little heavy on the joystick there, John. You know he's got an old Atari back there that he's controlling this thing with. We think he's filming, he's playing Pong back there, like bing, 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 bing.
Claire, do not be playing on that laptop. Do not be talking on that cell phone. We will do a retake.
Man.
I asked if they were doing that.
He's not being very nice, but I don't think Hubbard can handle the truth. This and all that and everything else and something else and the other things. Our guest today is, I forgot who the hell the guest was. Our guest today is Stephanie Patelos, former chair of the Alabama Republican College something others. What is this show called?
The V.
Oh, yeah. What do you think, Jack?
I think that it's probably. Why don't you ask Claire first?
All right. So what do you think, Claire?
Well, you're
Oh,
revving it
man.
up a little too fast.
Watch your step, Jonathan. Jesus.
Wait, the V takes a look at the book. Had his reputation carpet bombed with a new revelation. Bomb, bomb, little Mikey. Boom, boom. Mike Hubbard escaped justice. I just blew that whole damn thing. That's mine. Do it live. And it's real. Also, the taint of corruption, dang it,